Mark Gbila, let me come in here. I can feel the pain in the way you talk because we've had you on this program in another matter before, so we understand how painful this can be for someone who represents a people that have been so helpless in situations like this. But if you look at it in the House of the National Assembly, we have more than one bill, one for the grazing rights, one for the reserve, and even ranch system, the ranching. So we have about 3 of them. But going back to what Mr. Emeka Etiaba, a senior advocate of Nigeria, had said, it seemed that almost all the bills that we have on the table doesn't prescribe any solution that wouldn't snowball into another crisis. That is the reason that most Nigerians are really asking the question of people like you, who is also privileged to be in the House, to tell us if you have a solution. Perhaps you've been speaking with other members in the House, a solution, a workable solution that can really help sort this out once and for all.
Thank you very much, Suleiman. Now, it's very simple. It's staring us all as a country right in the face. We need to jettison every inkling of bias. We need to jettison every sense of defense of your part of the country and look at the situation the way it is. What is the best practice of cattle rearing anywhere and everywhere in the world? The answer is straightforward: ranches. Nigerians need to know this. The US has more cattle than Nigeria does. Brazil, the examples abound. And the simple solution is ranches. You don't go around seeing people herding cattle all over countries that have more cattle than we do. Why? Because they have gone past that point. It will interest Nigerians to note that the US, that we eulogize these days, actually had an issue with herdsmen and other communities hundreds of years ago. And the simple thing that happened, just like every evolution process, was they came to the point that, oh, it is ranches that we need to have, so everybody can have their means of livelihood without encroaching on others. Yes, we have the freedom of movement, but it does not allow you to encroach on your neighbor's legitimate property. So that is the simple solution, ranches. But there's some immediate solutions we need to put in place, because I can tell you categorically, I am not aware of anybody who has been apprehended. The Minister of State needs to make that information known to some of us, because I'm not aware of it. But there has been wanton killing of members of my community and other innocent citizens in this country.
Let me come in here
and
again.
It will interest you to note that.
Just let me come in here again very quickly. Now you're talking about security matters, which is also important here. Listening to a member talk saying that some people have been apprehended and some of them never spoke any of the Nigerian languages. One wonders some key ministries that should be before the Nigerian people now. The internal affairs should be telling us what exactly they know about infiltration of people in the face of what is happening, if there's any iota of truth after all. Plus, maybe even the security herdsmen in your state. Have you been able to speak with any of them and know if truly they were keeping watch over such communities? Because we know that a particular community around your state have been attacked more than once. So what kind of protection are these people getting?
Thank you. Now, in terms of protection, it has only been in recent times that the security agencies have tried to put more presence in Agatu, for instance. Like I mentioned, in my own community in Agagbe, say Agagbe to be precise, actually that's where the attacks started before they spilled over into Agatu because they're neighboring communities. But that didn't apparently come to the notice of Nigerians because it seemed to be like a remote situation. But now that it is, spreading across the country, we're being more aware of it. So that is what has happened in recent times. The state government has done a lot more in Benue, for instance, in terms of trying to put that in place. And let me use this opportunity, if you allow me, to commiserate with the state governor, Dr. Samuel Otom, and the people of Benue State for the recent dastardly murder of his senior special assistant on internal security, Dene Gbila, and we still have not apprehended the perpetrators of this crime. But these are the kind of security issues we're facing across the country right now. So, and it is important to know that even when the Inspector General of Police came to Benue, he didn't seem to think it was necessary to go to Agatu or to Tsergagbe or Buruku or Boko, Taka, to see for himself, the heinous crimes that have been committed. Now, this is the kind of response we have been receiving from the federal government, who, unfortunately, because of our constitutional provisions, are the ones that have the main power over the security agencies. And it is important to note that after a motion was raised by this honorable member on the floor of the House about this issue, Mr. President announced the setting up of a committee to look into this matter. I don't know if you, Chamberlain or Suleiman or Inyota, are aware of the constitution of this committee, who the members are, what their terms of reference are, or who they have been meeting. I am not aware. I have not seen any response from Mr. President to a lot of these happenings. And like I said, in terms of the security agencies themselves, there has been some response, I would admit, in that regard, but not appropriately. Even in Kaduna, we are having the issue of cattle rustling, kidnapping, and robberies. The people don't have the logistic support they need. The same thing in Benue and other parts of the country. There needs to be an immediate location of the security agencies close to these areas where these attacks occur.
Okay,
that, I think,
tell us,
in layman's terms, is part of what the rules of engagement should be.
Could you tell us, because we did hear, it was on television, the Benue State Governor, Wada, was saying that the challenges cannot be beyond him, and he was going to brief the president so that they could put heads together and see what best actions to further take. He also did say that they were going to meet with his Nasarawa State colleague on that same matter. What could you tell us about the latest information on those issues?
Yes, like I mentioned earlier, the Benue and Nasarawa State governors have come to an agreement to work in collaboration with one another and to be able to tackle this issue.
But they did that before.
In a united front, because there obviously are spillovers from each state because they have neighboring borders. I can inform you here that we have information about certain places in Nasarawa through which these purported herdsmen come in from, and they say there's a particular traditional ruler in an area called Loco or something that like I said, these are purported reports. We don't know the fact yet, but in the area called Loco, that they seem to get free passage in that area. The security agencies are aware about this information. The Department of State Security, I'm sure, is aware. That is one arm of government that I must commend as well. They're doing a good job. They have people on the ground in my community. Those I see regularly, and they're very informed about the movement of these people. But we start to wonder what the other security agencies are doing in terms of prosecution, arrests, apprehension, and making them to face the law of the land. So these are the efforts made so far by those two state governors, and I'm sure that Dr. Samuel Otom has met with the president. I was not privy to the meeting, so I cannot tell you the outcome of that. But what I can tell you now is we don't want this country to degenerate any further than where it is. I don't think there needs to be a threat of reprisals before northern governors will go to see their colleague in the southeast. Maybe because the Benue people have not yet made threats of reprisals, then those governors have not deemed it fit to come and also visit and commiserate with us.
Speaking of which, let me bring in this before we wrap up.
We all
yes. I mean, by the way, we reached out to Mieti Allah, and they were not able to send a representative to be on this show today. We hope that they will do subsequently. The thing about that is because they also have said, look, they are trying to seek a solution to this whole matter, because we need to live peacefully with one another in this country so that we don't spread wrong messages about a certain group of people. But that said, where I'm going is the Ekiti example. Now the governor's talking tough, saying the banned grazing there. Some of the headlines here, not exactly, but there he did say they were going to go to the State House of Assembly, come up with a law that will ban grazing, and then he says people should defend themselves. How do we ensure that, look, we're actually focused on this and get a proper solution? Because in this case, if he goes to the State Assembly, gets a law, and the National Assembly comes up with a law, how do you then, which supersedes the other? Will this in any way solve anything?
No, those are the kind of incendiary remarks that I'm referring to that only help to stoke the flame of the crisis, if I might say so. Now, of course, every state government has the prerogative to take the actions they deem necessary. He obviously is also not happy about the killing of his people, but I think the National Assembly has started the right approach, which is dialogue, which is getting all stakeholders to come together and discuss over the matter. So I believe we're going to be seeing a lot more hearings before the necessary legislation is put in place.
All right.
Now, I would want to appeal to His Excellency and others who are aggrieved to take the example of Benue State, who have been more attacked than anybody else, but we still want to toe the line of the rule of law and following our constitution, because we too are aware we have the right to defend ourselves, but we're giving the government the opportunity to be responsible for the people as is their constitutional prerogative.
All right,
or rather, obligation. It's more like an obligation.
That's what we're anchored today.
That is what I'd want to advise.
All right, and thank you very much indeed, Honorable Mark Gbila. We will be back and focus on this matter yet again. Don't go away.